Hi everybody, welcome to our production workshop. My name's Ariel, and I'm the VGDA Marketing Officer. For anybody who isn't sure what this workshop is going to be about, it is at its very core a leadership workshop. So I'll be going over a few points. Production management. What is it, and what does it mean to lead? Soft skills, communicating with your team, and logistics, scrumming and setting milestones. Production management. Let's define it. So, what is a production manager and what do they do? You guys probably know production managers as your team lead. That is somebody who's responsible for guiding and managing the team and project as a whole. Their priorities would be communicating, delegating overarching tasks, and managing each other's time wisely. Now, a production manager should not be a micromanager, and that is somebody who gives excessive supervision, telling people what to do and how to do it, telling others what is right and what is wrong. Basically, a micromanager is somebody who says it's my way or the highway. Now, this is something we want to avoid because it doesn't lead to a conducive working environment, nor does it really generate very amicable relationships. Now, in the event that any of you are faced with a micromanager, talk it out with the person. Or, if it gets really bad, come to one of your officers. We'll be more than happy to help you out. Now, this is the general chain of command. At the very top, we have our production manager, also known as our team lead, and they are responsible for overseeing discipline-specific leads. This is an example, we have our art lead and programming lead. Of course, there's going to be other leads if your team requires or demands it, let's say, for example, narrative or sound, but the takeaway is that these leads oversee members who specialize in said discipline. Now, please keep in mind, even though you are a lead, don't micromanage. Alrighty then, let's get right into soft skills. I'm going over a few points again, like communication, time commitment, and motivation. So communication is key, guys. This is important across all boards, across all disciplines. No matter what you do, when you do it, always communicate with each other and your entire team. Now we understand that life gets in the way, like academics is important, your family is important. Maybe all of a sudden you're hit with an unsuspected pop quiz and you haven't studied for it yet. Well, guess what? Say it sooner rather than later. It's important to be upfront and honest about these things so you guys don't impede any progress that you make. That is also great for disaster planning, by the way. Having a flexible workflow. Very important. And don't forget to plan time to work together. Document meetings for reference, or scrumming. We'll touch on this deeper later. Now, if anything really bad happens or something goes awry with one of your team members, communicate with your officers. Tell us, we're here for you. We're here to help you and make sure that your game development goes smoothly. Now this is a great segue into time commitment and setting expectations. Before you guys start working, before you guys start getting into the nitty-gritty details of your game, make sure you understand each other's schedule. You guys should share the same idea of commitment, being how much time can you invest? 5 hours? 20 hours? 10 hours a week? We don't know until you guys check your schedules and talk about it to each other. By doing that, you guys can also set expectations based on your timetables. That being said, that leads into setting milestones, setting realistic scopes. Check out the game design workshop for more specifics, by the way, and also ghosting and disbanding. For anybody who doesn't know, ghosting is the event where one of your members starts separating themselves from the team slowly, gradually, cutting off communication, and they don't really do the work anymore. Like, they'll be there, but you can't reach them. If you guys communicate with each other, and if you guys set a solid foundation and idea of commitment with each other, you won't have any problems with ghosting or disbanding. You'll be okay. Now, how do you motivate your team? How do you keep up morale? Well, the answer is inclusion and involvement. Make sure each person's input is being heard. Keep them involved. Ask questions. All the information and tidbits don't necessarily have to be implemented, but you guys should listen to each other and give feedback. It's the lead's responsibility to make sure others feel included. Also, make sure everybody believes in the vision. You guys are making a game. Have your members excited about the game you're making. Another great way to motivate others is just hanging out with each other. Just strengthen your friendships. Talk about something you bond over together, like a game, music, art. Who knows? We do understand that this is a semester-long game and it gets very tedious, but fear not, milestones and scrumming will keep you busy and very much excited about your progress. And with that, let's move into logistics. This is where we start getting into the nitty-gritty details of game development. This is probably the part you guys are most familiar with or probably assume when it comes down to making your game, the logistic part. So with that in mind, here's a few points we'll be going over: defining your game, Scrum and workflow, and management tools. Now, defining your game. We're going to talk a little bit about game design in this part. If you guys haven't had the chance yet, we have a fantastic game design workshop video uploaded on our YouTube, so please do watch that. I very much recommend it. In the video, they talk about MDA, mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics. In summary, they talk about the minimum viable product that makes your game appealing. They also talk about scope. How much time can your members commit, and how much experience do they have, so that your scope is something achievable and realistic. Now, when it comes down to it, when you ask one of your members, "What are we making?" they should come up with the same answer. And if they don't, you guys should probably powwow and clarify any details that you are confused on or they're confused on. And as I said before, please consider each member's strengths and weaknesses. The experience and time they can put into your game truly do affect the scope. Now let's talk about Scrum. What is Scrum? Well, they're weekly or bi-weekly, depends on what your team agrees on, meetings and progress updates. During this time, your members are going to give you weekly reports. Any changes, any updates, any problems they've encountered since the last week. Now, during this time, it's great to set milestones or goals. Now, this is the lead's responsibility. It's in terms of workflow, you guys are going to get into prototyping, a lot of reiterations and a lot of refinement work. So work fast and fail fast, and have a flexible workflow. If something goes awry, work with it. Let's see. How manageable is it? What can you do to right it? Goals. Goals are well-defined tasks that the individual or the team completes by a specific date. Now, there's a couple: long-term and short-term. The team as a whole should have long-term goals, whereas individuals should have short-term goals up until the launch party, which is also our deadline, by the way. Now, keep in mind, a long-term goal, for example, is something that spans over the course of a month, whereas short-term goals are, for example, weekly goals that let you meet your long-term goals. In essence, you're just breaking all your goals down from general to specific, which works in with the big picture from big to small. Now, as a lead, please keep in mind how realistic your goals are. Factor in your members' experience and time commitments. How passionate are they about the project? How busy are they? And so forth. It also really helps to know each other's goals, especially in relation to overall progress. Now we're going to look at a couple goal examples. Here's short term and here's long term. Under short term, we have player movement will be completed by next week, or I will have finalized background art in 2 weeks. And long term being, let's get the MVP or minimum viable product done by the end of the month, or let's have concept art finished midway through the semester. So you guys can see the difference. Short term is usually weekly or daily, whereas long term spans longer, at least a month. But also keep in mind, it's okay to be busy. Just make sure to let your team know. And keep us officers posted too. So here's a quick little peep into our production pipeline. We have towards the left our production manager, and towards the right we have discipline-specific members. Now bear with me, this is an example, so I used art and programming. Now, anybody with the lead title is responsible for delegating tasks and communicating with everybody, as well as keeping track and progress of deadlines. That's not to say anybody without it is not responsible for it, but it works in terms of general to specific. Now, production manager or the team lead is responsible for the general aspect of tasks and communication and deadlines and so forth. However, discipline-specific leads, for example, our art lead and programming lead, are very much responsible for discipline-specific tasks and so forth. So just to recap, your production pipeline is basically an assembly line. But what happens when you encounter bottlenecking? Bottlenecking is painful. It's not fun. It's basically when there's congestion in your production system, when your workload arrives too quickly for the next person to handle, or maybe somebody is behind. Well, how do you avoid that? Well, you communicate! Talk with each other about any problems. If your tasks are becoming a little too much for you to handle, let your lead know. If you're finishing tasks too quickly, help others out. Now here are a few management tools that we highly recommend everybody take advantage of and should have access to. That including a collective Google Drive, Trello, Team Discord server, repository, and please check out the version control workshop for that one, and Pinterest. Now Google is a great platform where you can organize and save all your assets. It's also great in terms of keeping track of your meeting notes. Trello is an online task management tool where you can delegate tasks and members check off if they're done with them. And a team Discord server, we highly do recommend you make one, but I've actually made a production template you guys are more than welcome to use and edit to your liking, and I'll be showing a little demo on it later on. The repository is great for keeping track of any changes you make in your Unity scenes, and for my artists out there, Pinterest is a great platform where you can start building basically the vibe of your game. So here are just a couple organizational examples. Keep in mind messy workspaces do reduce productivity, so keep your station clean. And doing it later is very much a bad idea. It's best to be organized at first so you don't lose track of it later on. As I said, more organizational examples. On the bottom, we have a Google Drive example. You can see folders dedicated for art, narrative design, engineering, and so forth. And towards the top, you have an example of a Trello board. So let's talk about Trello. Trello, as I said before, is an online task management tool. It's available on a lot of platforms, including mobile, and you can create basically boards for your projects and add your team members. You can create tasks, set reminders, and organize them by discipline too. So if you guys hold on just a little bit longer, I will show you a quick little demo on how to use it. So this is what Trello looks like. I already have a few boards made, but I will be using one of my previous ones as an example. So this is Trello. Here you have a variety of lists which you can label, and then you have little tasks within. You can also edit them, labels, change whose task that, and you can also move it. You can drag and drop. It's really easy actually. But let's start with the basics. In order to make a list, you go over here, and let's call this one level design. We add that list, and here it is. Ooh! And now let's make a task for somebody. And to do that, you add a card, and we'll put make level 1. And as you can see, here it is. You can also edit it with this little pencil. You can put edit labels. Let's say this is an in progress test. Let's put yellow for that. You can also put name your colors, and we'll put yellow as in progress. See? That's cool, right? You can also save your changes. You can also just click the card, it'll open up. If for my team lead, you can also put a more in-depth description on what you want the person delegated for the task to do. Like, please insert ABC. And to add people onto this task, you add members, and I'll put myself, and let's put Jessica for example. Isn't that cool? You can also put a start date and a due date. You can also put images, covers, and so forth. It's a very versatile, very easy to use interface. But more than that, check this out, guys. You can do this. You can drag and drop. Isn't that cool? It's very easy to use. So make sure you guys get familiar with the interface with Trello. Invite people with either a link or add them via emails. But this is it for the most part. And in the event you guys want to delete a list, you can go up here and archive it. Alright. Let's talk about Discord, Communicate, and Scrum. So we've provided a production workshop template, and I'll be going over a quick walkthrough and demo about all the stuff included. But make sure, if you do decide to make a Discord server, to add your personal officer. And you can find them on the LFG sheet. So take a look at our production workshop template that we've provided. Link will be provided below. So I've created a variety of channels. The announcements are usually for, big important announcements like, ooh, Scrum on this day, or ooh, rain check on that day. And schedule should be something team leads would post their weekly milestones in, like task delegation stuff. Similarly, video logs are a great way to keep track of your progress visually. Not necessary, but a nice touch. And you guys are more than welcome to, add or take out channels as you like. This is just a template, of course. We also have meeting specific channels, voice channels, and text channels. We also have resources and references. These are generally used to put in your tutorials or inspiration in said specific discipline. We also have discipline channels where, people in that discipline can talk to each other and avoid any crosstalk with other disciplines. You can also see everybody has a role here. Production manager being red and so forth. Actually, let me show you in the server settings. So you can add roles and you can take out roles. The production manager has the most permissions, but for the most part, everybody is relatively the same in terms of, I guess, authority. But team lead, production manager, you guys have the most permissions. You can also add members into roles over here, of course. You can add them, take them out. Like, I'll take Chloe out of that one. And then maybe add Jasmine to program. and you'll see it happen over here. But that's that. Thanks for watching. And that concludes our workshop. Thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you guys learned something from this, and best of luck in making your game. Bye bye!